Hello and welcome to DFS Deep Dive. My name is Brian Craighead and I'll be your host this evening along with Jordan. Jordan, how are we doing this evening?
Good. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing quite well. I forgot my introductory part here, but I apologize for not having the 30-second countdown. So, did you get a chance to watch last night's Lions and Packers game?
Oh yeah, I watched the game, won all the bets. I did it all.
Well, that's good. Did you have any shares of David Montgomery?
Oh, absolutely. Took David Montgomery anytime touchdown, and then I did have him in one fantasy league, so it's a good start for the week.
Oh, you've had an amazing start. Yeah, he came into the game even somewhat questionable, and then he turns around and has 3 touchdowns. So you can't beat that.
Right.
So that's awesome. Yeah. So I'm going to open up the show here. We're going to have a quick reveal of keeping in mind that with the name DFS Deep Dive, we are covering the Sunday main slate for DraftKings. We're always going to be a DraftKings format. From what I understand, that's basically what only thing Jordan does. He's not a huge fan of FanDuel, so we do DraftKings here at this house.
Yep, DraftKings it is.
So, like I said, it's the main slate. It's your Sunday 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. games. So this week there's going to be some primetime games that aren't going to be part of our main slate, and that includes last night's game between the Lions and Packers. The final score there was 34 for the Lions and 20 for the Packers. Then this weekend we got our first London game Sunday morning. It's going to be the Jaguars -3 playing the Falcons. And then our Sunday night game of the week is going to be the Chiefs -9.5 visiting the Jets. And last but not least, on Monday night, we have the Seattle playing at the Giants, and it's a pick'em game. Well, actually, I think the line just shifted about an hour or so ago, and I'm not sure, but I believe the Giants are favored by 1.5 as opposed to the Seahawks.
I've got Seahawks -2 right now.
Okay, so Seahawks are -2 on that one. Like I said, there was a line shift when I was starting out last night. It was a pick'em game, and that line has since moved. So I'm not sure what the adjustment has been for. As far as I know, Saquon Barkley is still on track to perhaps play. He practiced yesterday, I know, but I'm not sure where the line shift was. But the other thing I always like to do, Jordan and I both like to target high scoring games, and the higher implied totals, the better. So this week there are several teams that I want to focus on, and the first one actually definitely the highest scoring game in terms of over under is the Bills and Dolphins. The Bills are sitting at 28. The Dolphins are sitting at 26. Along with that, you got the Eagles 26 playing host to the Commanders, who are only 18. Another game I think could be pretty high scoring is the Chargers 27 versus the Raiders 21. I could see impact from both teams there. We got the Vikings 25, the Panthers 21. I'm not sure I think a lot of this game, but the Broncos are sitting at 25, while the Bears are sitting at 21. Then we got the Rams sitting at 23.5, playing at the Colts, who are also 23.5. And we've got the 49ers sitting at 29 and the Cardinals sitting at 15. And last but not least, we got the Cowboys sitting at 25 versus the Patriots 18. Turn it off. And then Jordan, I was going to go ahead and kick it off to you in regards to revealing your lineup.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, so my lineup, and this is just kind of what I'm rolling with at the moment. I've got Josh Allen at quarterback, Alexander Madison and Kyron Williams at running back, Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Josh Downs as my wide receivers, Pat Fryermuth, my tight end, Adam Thielen as my flex, and then Panthers defense to round it out. But yeah, Brian, I agree with all those games. I had all those games written up in my article. at least 5 of them anyway. I really do think that the Denver-Chicago game for sure is going to. I think that'll be a little bit sneakier than what everybody else thinks. Two bad defenses going to against each other. In my article, I wrote it's either going to be 6-3 or 48-45. So,
Jordan, if you don't mind, could you read off your prices on that? I've got a temporary thing I need to deal with.
oh yeah, for sure. You want prices on just my lineup? All right. So Josh Allen. So in my lineup here is I do have a few punts. So I kind of went like stars and scrubs. Josh Allen 8,200, Alexander Madison 5,800, Kyron Williams 6,000, Keenan Allen 7,900, Stephon Diggs 8,100, Josh Downs 3,500, Pat Fryermuth 3,400, Adam Thielen 4,500, and then Panthers D 2,500. You're still muted.
Yeah, Jordan, I've had a temporary setback. I may have to take a short break. If you want to start off a positional preview, I'll come back momentarily.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'll jump right into quarterbacks in here. All right. First off, though, I guess let's go ahead and pay some bills while give Brian a chance to handle his business. So enjoy this commercial from Durham Remodeling.
Serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. And with over 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. This family-owned business has you covered on all your needs. Protect your home or building from the elements today and get great roof repair services. Need new windows? No problem. Durham Remodeling can upgrade your windows and doors. Whether you want to upgrade the little details in your home or office, or want to tear a room down and start fresh, the expert contractors at Durham Remodeling have your back. Even the smallest changes can completely transform your space. Ready to start entertaining your friends for backyard barbecues? Durham Remodeling will help you plan, design, and build your deck and patio for the perfect outdoor space. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 today for your free estimate for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715.
All right, welcome back. Okay, jump right in here to quarterbacks. Brian, are you back on?
Yeah, Jordan, I'm here. Sorry about that interruption there.
No, you're good.
I'm going to go ahead and give my quick lineup here, and then we'll get
right.
quarterback preview. All right. So for me, my quarterback is going to be Justin Herbert. He's playing against the Raiders, and his price tag is $7,800. At running back, I went Zach Moss versus the Rams. He's sitting at $6,000. At the other running back position, I got Raheem Mostert. He's playing at the Bills. He's sitting at $6,500. As part of my stack, I went Keenan Allen, and there I went at $7,900. At the second wide receiver position, I've got Adam Thielen playing versus Minnesota. He's sitting at $4,500. Then at the third wide receiver position, I've got Chris Olave playing versus the Bucks at $7,100. My tight end, just like you, is Pat Fryermuth at the Texans at $3,400. My flex, with Mike Williams out, I went with Josh Palmer. I kind of went a triple stack. I usually don't like to do that, but at the price tag of $4,000, I played him. And last but not least, I felt like the Cleveland Browns defense was severely underpriced at $2,800 versus the Ravens. So that's my starting lineup. We'll kick that over to you with your quarterback preview and go from there.
All right. So kind of like you, I wanted to pay it for quarterback this week. It seems like all the ones who are in the best game environments really have the higher price tags. There are a few, definitely a few cheaper guys. So when I was kind of going through it, like I wrote up Josh Allen, I went with him to start. I mean, he's in the highest game total on the slate. He is a favorite home quarterback, which seems to win tournaments a little bit more than anybody else. He hasn't quite gotten to that tournament winning score, but you got to think that he played the Jets defense that first week, and then the last 2 weeks have kind of been ran by their defense. So he really hasn't had to do a whole lot. I skipped over Jalen Hurts. I just think that him going up against Washington, I don't think he's going to have to do much, and the running game has just really emerged. Justin Herbert was my next quarterback on the slate. He was the guy last week. 47 pass attempts, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like you said, no Mike Williams, so I really like pairing him with Joshua Palmer. But I could get to Keenan Allen, and if he was my quarterback, though, I'd definitely stack him with both. So then I was on the Browns defense, and I couldn't afford him, so I dropped down and saved myself a little bit of salary, but that's why I skipped over Lamar Jackson. I'm not a fan of Lamar Jackson. The Browns defense has been really good to start the season, so I got away from them. And usually those AFC North games are they're heavy hitters. People, they're either really low scoring or complete and total blowouts. So then I got down to Tua. He's been the running game really did it for him last week, and he really didn't have to do much after it was 50 to whatever. But he could have his whole complement of weapons back. Him and Jalen Waddle, him and Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert. I mean, you could stack him with whoever. His price has gone up quite a bit from the start of the season, about $700. So he's starting to get to that point to where his production is still there and it's good, but I think the Bills defense will definitely hamper that a little bit. Kirk Cousins was my next guy. He's been one of the best DFS quarterbacks so far this season, but that's because his defense is so terrible. So he has to continue to throw the ball. Same thing last week. I mean, he was just chucking the ball up. 50 pass attempts, 32 completions, 367 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then after that, Anthony Richardson's set to play, and he's been rock solid. His rushing upside is there. He can pass the ball. I didn't write him in my article because I wasn't sure how he was going through concussion protocol, but he does not have an injury designation right now. So he is somebody who I am considering as well. You can save a little bit of salary and still get a lot of that upside. I wrote up Justin Fields. Now, don't hate me on this one, but he's facing the Broncos defense that just gave up 400 yards rushing and like 700 and some odd yards total. And 10 touchdowns. So I'm not saying, like I said, this year game's either going to be 6-3 or it's going to be 48-45. Neither of these defenses can play. Fields hasn't been good all year, but the opportunity for him to showcase his rushing upside is there. This could be one of those games where he 100 to 150 yards with a couple touchdowns. And at 6,600, if he does that, I mean, he could really explode the slate. He's had at least 9 rushing attempts in 2 of his 3 games this year. Then I got down to Joe Burrow. He's 6,500. He finally came on last week. It was funny because we talked about, that was kind of the question that came up on the main show last week was, should you sell Joe Burrow? And I think all of us swiped left. We were like, no, we're not going to sell Joe Burrow. And he proved us right. Had a monster game. Jamar Chase had a huge game. So I think he settled in, and now you're going up against the Titans defense where you can't run against the Titans, but you can sure beat them with the pass. So I think Joe Burrow could definitely be somebody that we talk about. I wish the game environment was a little bit better projected. I skipped over Dak Prescott, I skipped over Deshaun Watson, skipped over Brock Purdy. Just all 3 of those games, with Purdy being in the blowout and the other 2, I think are going to be a little bit more defensive minded. Bill Belichick's a genius, so I see him definitely making that more of a game than what I'd like. Then I got down to Russell Wilson. the dude's just been throwing for over 300 yards two of his first 3 games, and he only needs around 24 points to keep you on pace for a tournament win. And he really lets you do some things with your lineup that if you have one of those higher paying quarterbacks in there, you really can't. Then the last guy I wrote up was Matt Stafford. He looked pretty bad on Monday night going up against the Bengals. The Bengals defense, I think, really played out of their ass. They're a good defense, but I think that home crowd really took Stafford out. He just looked uncomfortable, and it wasn't a very good game. But I think going up against the Colts here, I think he could have a bounce back game. The Colts defense is okay. I mean, I don't like that it's in Indianapolis, and Kyron Williams is one of my running backs, so I wouldn't pair the two together. But I think honestly how they win that game is probably through Kyron Williams. So Stafford was just kind of one of the cheaper options because I really didn't like anybody else below 5,700. I didn't like Stroud against Pittsburgh. Derek Carr probably not going to play. Baker Mayfield against New Orleans. I mean, he looked like trash last week. Jameis Winston. If you can get up to the Bucs defense, Jameis Winston will throw a pick 6. He does it all the time. I'm pretty sure he threw like 2 or 3 in one game. Somebody who, if he makes it through concussion protocol, and I hate saying this because I hate playing the guy in fantasy because he just doesn't seem to be DFS relevant. Jimmy G. He's still listed as questionable. He logged a limited practice today, but he still hasn't cleared concussion protocol. But I really, just like you and having Herbert and Allen and Palmer, I really, really like that game environment. I think it's going to be where everybody's on the Bills and the Dolphins, but I think that the Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers could usurp that game. I love Devontae Adams. Jacoby Myers is fantastic. I wish I could get to Jacoby Myers, and I definitely could get to Adams if I swapped off. If I didn't have if Allen wasn't my quarterback, I kind of like to stack my quarterback with their number 1 wide receiver or number 2 guy, and that's kind of the way I went. But if I went with Garoppolo, I'd switch out I could probably get up to Adams and afford Adams this week. But then after that, yeah, I don't like Bryce Young being back. If Andy Dalton was back and Bryce Young was still hurt, I would have been all over Andy Dalton. But yeah, after that, it's just a bunch of backups. So the cheapest I'm willing to go if he plays is Jimmy G.
Yeah, I'm on there with you with Jimmy G as well. Like you said, we don't know about his concussion protocol, but I'm good with the price. I mean, the price is only 5,300. It looks like. I mean, so I'm fine with that. I totally agree with your quarterback review. The only 2 that I'm okay playing that you didn't really like were Purdy and Stroud. Like you said, that game could be a blowout in regards to the Cardinals and 49ers. It's expected to at a 14-point spread, but he may be able to do enough at 5,900 in the first half to make him fantasy relevant. And Stroud is actually quarterback 4 on the season in redraft leagues, and that's a stout Steelers defense, and I'm a Steelers fan. But at 5,600, I don't mind rolling the gamble. And he's got a couple of cheap receivers in Tank Dell and Nico Collins you could pair with him for a really contrarian stack that will allow you a lot of room at the upper levels of other positions. So I'm a little bit less leery than you are, but at the same time, there's still somewhat of a roll of the dice. So
yeah, and that was really what kind of scared me away was the Steelers defense. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the guy, he's been slinging the ball every game. I mean, 44 attempts week 1, 47 attempts week 2, 30 attempts week 3. He's thrown for 2 touchdowns in 2 of his 3 games. He's got some rushing upside, at least 3 attempts in all 3 games. And like I said, I almost wrote him up, but I tell you what, if TJ Watt is firing on all cylinders like he was last week against the Raiders, it's going to be a long day for CJ Stroud. But yeah, I think he's definitely serviceable, definitely stackable.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge Steelers fan, so the game could go either way. But at the same time, you could save enough value elsewhere to maybe make up for any discrepancy. So
yeah, absolutely.
And then I meant to offer this at the beginning of the show, but there's a lot of key injuries we need to look at too. I'm going to throw them out while we're waiting here. Cooper Kupp's still out. They expect him to possibly come back, start practicing next week, and maybe be available in week 5. Austin Eckler's considered doubtful. Derek Carr is considered questionable. Irv Smith is out. Zay Jones is out. Juwan Jennings is doubtful. Quez Watkins is out. Odell Beckham is out. Rashad Bateman out. Treylon Burks out. And then these guys are considered questionable. Like we said, Jimmy G. We've also got Justice Hill, Elijah Mitchell, Debo, Marquise Brown, Tyler Higbee, Deshaun Watson, Miles Sanders, and last but not least is Jonathan Mingo. So just keep all those guys in mind for this week when setting your lineups come Sunday. So I'm going to go over and do my running back preview next. And hopefully it will be pretty similar. My top guy that I've listed here, not willing to pay the price for him, but I'll still list him. You can't really not list him. But CMC versus Arizona, he's sitting at 9,200. I would have a hard time fitting him in my lineup, but at the same time, like I said, it's almost like you can't really not list him. And the Cardinals' defense is 28th against the run. So I just mentioned Elijah Mitchell being questionable, but if he plays, he could be an interesting bargain basement price kind of running back, I think, if you really want to save money. I've got Pollard here versus the Patriots. He's sitting at 7,800. Next, I've got Mostert, who is currently in my lineup. And this guy's had a name change, and I can't really do it justice, but I still call him A-Chain, and he's sitting at 5,700. After last week, they made a big price adjustment, obviously, on him. Next, I really, really, really like this guy. In my earlier lineups, I had him in there. James Cook, he's sitting at 6,300. He's playing against the Dolphins at home. Next, I've got James Conner against the very stout San Francisco defense, but he's been the bell cow. Very few bell cows left these days, so that makes him very valuable. He's sitting at 5,900. I got Alexander Madison playing at the Panthers at 5,800. This is a big guy right here to me. 2 back-to-back weeks of just complete, just a monster performances. DeAndre Swift playing versus the Commanders. He's at 5,700. I've got this guy listed, but I'm a little more skeptical of him. Najee's got a great matchup, but he hasn't really done great. He's at 5,500, and he's 28th against the Texans, or 28th against the run. Even though I've got him listed, he would be one of those, if you're just really trying to save money kind of guys, I wouldn't feel comfortable with him, but I think he's underpriced nonetheless. Next, I know you hated this guy last week, and I have to admit I was right about him.
Yeah, he was. I wrote him up in my article. I told everybody I'd eat crow.
There you go, Jerome Ford. He's playing against Baltimore, 5,400. Excuse me. I got Dameon Pierce, but once again, he's kind of like Najee. I like the price tag, but I do not like the going against the Steelers' stout defense. They're currently 28th against the run, but I don't know. That may change this week, but he's at 5,100. And last but not least, the guy's got a great matchup, but he's got to get volume at some point in time. Roschon Johnson playing versus the Broncos at 4,900, and the Broncos are 32nd against the run, but he's yet to have 10 carries on the season in any single game. and the same thing with Khalil Herbert. Neither one of them have more than 10 carries in a week. So I'm worried about the volume. I love the matchup. So, did you have anybody that you would be hesitant to start, and or in addition to mine, anybody you would like to list?
Yeah, I had so I had like, because you said you had Zach Moss in your lineup, so I like Zach Moss. I also like the other side of that game. I like Kyron Williams. The guy's been on the field for 100% of the snaps. Doesn't come off the field. Like I said, I think if the Rams are winning that game, I think it's because Kyron Williams is getting in the end zone and getting touches. You said Swift. I like that pick. Jerome Ford. Now, there is one caveat to this. So, yes, Jerome Ford smashed last week. But there's a big but here. His production, 10 rushes for 18 yards, 2 catches for 33. If he doesn't score the 2 touchdowns, it's game over. So
Yeah.
I think he's definitely serviceable. He's definitely got a little bit easier matchup against Baltimore this week. But I think he got saved by his touchdowns. So we'll see. I'm willing to give him a chance. That's why I put him back in the lineup, just because he's going up against Baltimore, and Zach Moss just gashed him for 122 and a touchdown.
Yeah, he didn't get the volume last week, and at that price tag, if you get 15 touches, that's probably good enough. But
oh yeah, absolutely, and he's involved in the passing game, so you got to think right there. I mean, I think that's huge. Somebody who he's at 5,500. You talked about one side of the game. I think Javonte Williams. Now, I feel like the Broncos are still being really hesitant with him, just coming back from the ACL. But he's on the field for over 50% of the snaps. He's getting over 50% of the carries. He's involved in the running game or in the receiving game. He got 13 touches week 1, 12 week 2, and 11 week 3. So I'm hoping that that's not going down, but I think a lot of that is just because of the nature of the way the game was going. The Raiders game was fairly close. The Washington game was fairly close, and then the Miami game was just a blowout. So I definitely see I could see him getting to 15 touches this week and getting some passing game work as well. He was originally in my lineup, but like I said, I think if I wanted to get to the Browns defense, I think I'd switch out Madison for Williams and go with the Browns D. But I think you nailed everybody else. I wrote up in my article, I wrote up all the Bears running backs. I put Bears running backs. All of them are priced. Roschon Johnson, 4,900. Deonta Foreman, 4,800, and then Khalil Herbert, 4,700. Like you said, none of them have broken away. We don't know who the lead back is, and Foreman was a healthy scratch last week, if I'm not mistaken. So actually, both week 2 and week 3. So who knows if he's even still relevant? So if they scratch him, I like Johnson at 4,900. And then the only other person I wrote up was Samaje Perine. He's 4,700. He's technically the backup to Javonte Williams, but if for some reason the Bears get ahead, I think he could definitely get some passing game work. He liked the vulture Joe Mixon when his time in Cincinnati. But yeah, I mean he's getting 4 targets week 1, 3 targets week 2. Just the rushing attempts aren't there. So I mean, honestly, he's probably not getting the volume, but just hey, you know what? If you're doing 150 lineups, it wouldn't hurt to kind of include him.
Well, the matchup's great. I do wish he'd get more volume. It's just kind of weird. In the Commanders game, I had a chance to watch it in week 2, and Javonte got all the early work, and then when the Commanders were making their comeback and got ahead, then the second half, Perine was in there when they were kind of in catch-up mode. So I don't know what's going on with Perine. He's got talent, like you said, but he's not getting the opportunity. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, in his time in Cincinnati, when Joe Mixon would go down, Samaje Perine is he can play the game. So that wraps it up for running backs. So let's hit another commercial here. We got Ryan Allison coming up here with Ryan Allison Tattoo.
Transform your body into a canvas of exquisite storytelling and profound self-expression with the skilled hands of Ryan Allison. Craft custom masterpieces that tell your unique story together. Ryan specializes in color tattoos as well as black and gray. He also practices a diverse range of styles, whether you're passionate about anime, fantasy, mythology, pop culture, video games, movies, the esoteric, nature, creatures, dot work, black work, or you have your own ideas. Ryan embraces your distinct vision with an unwavering commitment to passion, precision, and originality. Each project he undertakes is a labor of dedication, a fusion of research, artistic ingenuity, and profound symbolism. His commitment to authenticity is nothing short of remarkable, infusing his very soul into every creation. From half and full sleeves to bodysuits, awesome back pieces, to majestic front panels, Ryan is the artist for anyone seeking powerful, breathtaking artwork. With every stroke of his needle, he weaves a tale that's as unique as you are. Don't settle for ordinary tattoos when you can elevate your ink to the extraordinary with Ryan Allison. Embark on your creative journey by booking a consultation with him and proudly exhibit your story on your skin. Visit Ryan at Why Not Ink Studio in North Park Mall or check out his portfolio online at ryanallison.art. Ryan Allison Tattoos. When you choose me, you're not just getting a tattoo, you're getting an experience.
All right. Thank you, Ryan, for supporting the show. One of our many sponsors out there. Got a little request to show the t-shirt, the Force Frequency Stake shirt. Wear that. I switch it between the For Fantasy Stake t-shirt every other podcast. Got them in red and black.
I need to get
Alrighty.
swag as well.
Yeah. All right, rolling into wide receivers. I'm just going to mention him because I didn't write him up. Justin Jefferson. Man's a beast. He's been fantastic, but he's almost $10,000. He's $9,600. I for some odd reason, I don't feel like Carolina is going to keep it competitive enough to, and I know the Minnesota defense is terrible, but I feel like Bryce Young just I don't know. It's been a short season so far, but he just doesn't seem like he's quite there yet as a quarterback. So I don't know that game stays competitive enough for Justin Jefferson to have to do so much. So I would rather pay down to the first guy I wrote up, and that's Tyreek Hill. He's averaged 32 points a game this year. He's in the highest game total on the slate. It's a close spread. They're looking to make a statement. If they beat Buffalo, they're going to have a 2-game lead in the division, and they'll have, partially part of that tiebreaker. So I like Tyreek Hill to show out here. I tried to get him as a bring back. I couldn't afford it. But if I could get up to Tyreek Hill, I definitely will do my best. Then the drop off in salary is pretty huge. We've got Stephon Diggs listed at $8,100, so $1,100 from the top two plays. I love Stephon Diggs. He's getting a lot of the targets. If I can pull up that sheet here, I know he's getting a ton of targets on the year. Yeah, Stephon Diggs on the field for 80% of the snaps and almost a 40% target share on the season so far. So Josh Allen's looking his way. He's looking his way a lot. Miami defense not very good. They're going to give up some points. So I definitely see Stephon Diggs having a big day, and that's why I stacked him with Allen. Another guy I mentioned was Devontae Adams. Probably if Jimmy G plays, he's one of my favorite plays on the slate. He has one of the highest floors in the game, getting all the work and going up against the Chargers secondary. And like I said, I think this game could be a real big back and forth, just like the Miami Buffalo game. And if you wanted to be different, and say that Buffalo Miami game does fail, and you only have a small piece of it, I think this is the other game to target. Right below him at 7,900, I've got Keenan Allen. Allen's been a target machine so far. And now with no Mike Williams, he is no Mike Williams, no Austin Eckler. Unless the Raiders completely and totally try to just take him out of the game, this man is going to feast one more time. 20 targets last week, 18 receptions, 215 yards, and no touchdowns. No touchdowns. So, and got you 50 points, 48.5 points. Imagine a touchdown thrown in there. This man just completely wrecks the slate. I wouldn't chase the 50-point game, but I definitely say I would say that 30 points is easily attainable. Going under him, we're going right in a row here. I've got a lot of high-priced wide receivers listed. Jamar Chase, finally got the game we're used to seeing from Chase. He was used in every way imaginable. He ran the ball sometimes. He was out of the slot. He was the deep guy. I mean, he was just all over. I think he builds off that last week against a pretty bad Titans secondary. I skipped over A.J. Brown. I like Jalen Waddle if you're trying to save some money. It looks like his injury designation is gone. Update. Cleared the NFL concussion protocol Thursday. So he's good to go. He's a full participant on Wednesday. Cleared concussion protocol. So Jalen Waddle is a go. So if you can't get to Tyreek Hill and you've got some salary, I like Jalen Waddle in this matchup too, because you got to think. I can't think of his first name. Is it Tre'Davious White? Stud cornerback for Buffalo. I don't think he travels with wide receivers, but if he's on Tyreek Hill, I mean Tyreek Hill's proven that he's uncoverable, but that could take away from him a little bit. Then after that, I skipped over AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. I just don't think they're going to have to do a whole lot in that game against Washington, and then I worry about the run game taken away from him. CeeDee Lamb, as much as I'm a huge Cowboys fan, like I said, I think that game is going to be a little bit closer and a little bit lower scoring than people think. Next guy was somebody that Brian also mentioned, Chris Olave. The way to beat the Bucs is through the pass. Winston sounds like he's going to play, and he's not afraid to air it out. Alvin Kamara is back, but I don't think that hurts Olave. I think it kind of helps him, because if they have to worry about Kamara, and if he comes back and is in a good position there, I think he could open up some looks. I didn't go with Mike Evans, Baker Mayfield. I mean, Baker Mayfield's looking his way a lot. He had a big game last week. 2 weeks ago against Chicago. Last week, not so much. 5 catches, 60 yards, 10 targets. So the volume's going to be there. He's a good floor guy, but I just don't think his ceiling's going to be there as long as Baker Mayfield's at the helm. Then we got Deebo Samuel's questionable. I think they ground and pound Arizona. I got T. Higgins. T. Higgins he had a dud week 1, 30 points week 2, 4 points last week. If he keeps the trend of every other week, he should have a good game. Titans secondary, not very good. So we could see T. Higgins. I know Brian called week 2. That was a great call week 2 with T. Higgins. What do you have? 2 touchdowns? The man was all over the place. Yeah. 8 for 89, 2 touchdowns, 12 targets. So he gets volume, and he got volume even on Monday night against the Rams. He had 8 targets. He just didn't do anything. 2 catches. It's just a bad night for him.
Yeah, he had some drops tied in. He's just got to get back consistency, which he's done in years past. Weeks 1, he got the volume, but he just, had drops. So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think if the Titans do try to take away Jamar Chase, I think could open up for T. Higgins. And if you wanted to get really gross with it, you go with Tyler Boyd. Puka Nacua, it could possibly be the last week without a Cooper Kupp. He really got cooled off against the Bengals, but that was just because Matthew Stafford just didn't have time to do anything. So I could really see the rookie coming back and putting a statement on possibly his last week as the number 1 here. I skipped over Jerry Jeudy initially because he was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, but he is practiced fully on Friday and doesn't carry an injury designation right now. So I didn't write him in my article, but Jerry Jeudy is somebody I'd be definitely considering against Chicago. Like I said, that game could be low scoring, could be one to pop off the slate. I like Michael Pittman. I did write him up, but definitely getting a lot of targets, especially with Richardson in there. Chris Godwin, same thing as Mike Evans. I don't think for what he's priced, I don't see the upside. I don't see him having tournament winning upside. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel's out. I could see Ayuk having a pretty decent game here. So keep an eye on Deebo Samuel, whether or not he's going to play or not. But once again, I think they could really blow out Arizona and really not have to use him. Next guy on my list is Amari Cooper. That's how, with Nick Chubb going down, Cleveland definitely, I think, is going to pass a lot more. I think they do have trust in Jerome Ford and they do have Kareem Hunt, but Deshaun Watson's been looking for Amari Cooper. Tons of targets. I like Amari Cooper. Actually, and I don't want to skip over too many people, but I actually really, really like Elijah Moore. So I'll get to him, though. We talked about Gabe Davis on the show last week. We were ripping on him about how he just doesn't catch touchdowns, and then he catches a touchdown. But the volume's just not there. He had 4 targets last week, 1 catch for 35 yards and the big touchdown, which didn't even necessarily save his fantasy day. But I like Stephon Diggs a lot more. Hopkins against Cincinnati. I stayed away from that. Jordan Addison didn't really do anything in a game last week where we thought he was going to have a huge game, and he just didn't. He kind of let us down. Volume's there, though. 8 targets, 6 catches, 52 yards last week. Next person I wrote up is DJ Moore. Barely been bad. Moore's fallen right along with him, but 2 of the worst defenses going up against each other. So if he was going to have a week, this could be the week. And at 5,600, it's not going to take much. 7 targets week 2, 6 targets week 3. Had 100 yards receiving in week 2 and caught a touchdown last week. But even though that was in garbage time, but DJ Moore could be there. Zay Flowers, you said something about no Rashad Bateman, no Odell Beckham. By default, I don't like him up against Cleveland's defense, but
get off the phone.
Could be serviceable. I skipped over Tutu Atwell, even though once again this could be his last week as being super relevant. If Cooper Kupp comes back, I definitely think he falls to the wide receiver 3. But at 5,500, next guy I wrote up was Jacoby Myers. He's had double-digit targets in both games he's played. If Adams isn't getting open, I think Myers is. I really do like Jacoby Myers. I think he's definitely found his stride, and he's definitely a better complement than he is a number 1 guy. With everybody focused on Adams, he just gets open all the time. I skipped over Pickens, skipped over Sutton, skipped over Terry McLaurin. I do think Washington has to air it out, but Philly's got some pretty decent corners. Skipped over Michael Thomas. I don't trust Jameis Winston. I think he airs it out a lot, but I don't trust Jameis Winston. Nico Collins is the next guy I wrote up. He had a down week last week, and that was just because Tank Dell was doing it all. And then they were trying to get the running game going, but Dameon Pierce just hasn't looked good so far this year. I do think that the Pittsburgh D is going to force CJ Stroud to throw it and throw it quick, and I think Nico Collins could work out of the slot maybe a little bit. But I think that's more of a Robert Woods role. So I think either Nico Collins or Robert Woods. I think I'm not buying the Tank Dell hype yet. He got a $1,000. He's 4,600 this week is Tank Dell. So I'd rather just pay the extra 500 and get to Collins, who's had a bunch of targets and seen a lot of the usage. Kendrick Bourne, no. Marquise Brown, no. Brandon Cooks hasn't done anything. Jahan Dotson had an okay first week and hasn't done anything. So then we get to who I was talking about was Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore seeing the same amount of snaps, same amount of targets as Amari Cooper, and he's a way cheaper price. I was listening to a couple people talk today, read a couple articles, and I think Elijah Moore. I couldn't afford him, but I think Elijah Moore is. I like Elijah Moore this week. When we talked about Tank Dell, I'm not gonna chase that game. Adam Thielen's kind of in the same boat. He's only got a $600 price increase, but revenge game, anyone? going up against Minnesota. He's at home. Maybe wants to show him a little bit. This could be the Adam Thielen. I mean, we saw it last week, 11 catches, 145 yards, 1 touchdown. I do like him less that Bryce Young is in the mix, but I would have liked him a lot better with Andy Dalton throwing him the ball. But I do think he could be relevant, and I could think he could come out wanting to show that he still got it, and that Minnesota maybe made a mistake. Rashad Bateman's out. Talked about Robert Woods. I was really high on KJ Osborne last week, and he threw out a dud. Odell Beckham's out. Then you start getting into everybody else. Darnell Mooney, Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark. I think Chark could have a good game. Again, I would like it if Andy Dalton was throwing him the ball. Van Jefferson's kind of the number 3 guy. Rashid Shaheed. I get that guy's name wrong all the time. He could be liable for a deep ball, but I also don't think that, like I said, I don't trust Winston. I think Winston's going to be more bad than good. Then if you want cheap guys, like Brian Carter, I already mentioned, was Josh Palmer. Slotting in as the number 2. A lot of people were picking up Quentin Johnston on the waiver wire. Kind of funny because I picked up Josh Palmer in all my leagues. Everybody's talked about it. Josh Palmer is the guy who kind of slotted in last year for Mike Williams. Smashed when he did. After Mike Williams went out, even last week before Mike Williams went out, he's involved in the offense. 7 targets, 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. So Josh Palmer is one of my pay down guys, and then Marvin Mims Jr. I thought he was getting more work than he was. 5 targets last week in the blowout, 3 catches, 73 yards. He is getting some rushing attempts. But I definitely think Marvin Mims is viable for a long one. So I do think that he could. I think he could burn the Bears defense and maybe catch a long bomb. I think that would be good. Quentin Johnston's serviceable. I kind of mentioned him. I think he'll be the number 3 guy. So I think he'll definitely see more reps, more snaps. And then somebody that I put in my lineup to start was Josh Downs. Same thing. He had Gardner Minshew throwing to him last week. I think Anthony Richardson will just use his legs a little bit more, but I think that Josh Downs is kind of making a name for himself. 7 targets week 1, 5 targets week 2, 12 targets last week, 8 receptions, 57 yards. He could be somebody who's emerging. Alec Pierce obviously isn't the guy, so definitely Josh Downs could have a shot. And I think that's all I've got for wide receivers. Looks like we lost Brian. So if he comes back, I can ask him about his wide receivers. Let's go to a question real quick. Derek, who do you like better to start, Elijah Moore or Tutu Atwell? I definitely, like I said, I'm high on Elijah Moore this week. I've read quite a few things about him. I think that somebody said that, he's due for a smash game. And like I said, I definitely think he could get there. Let's go to, just want to look at my notes here. On the field for over 70% of the snaps. And he's actually, he's right there with Amari Cooper. They're both seeing right around 20 to 25% of the target share on the team. So I do like Elijah Moore. I just wish I could afford them both. And I think if I pay down where I want to at running back, I can get to him and the Browns defense and probably still have a little salary left over. So let's break here one more time. Let's get one more commercial in here. Jump off onto Route 96.
For Fantasy's Sake has teamed up with Route 96 Boutique to raise a little more cash for Toys for Tots this season. From September 10th until the end of November, 10% of all purchases made with Route 96 on Sundays will be donated to us for our Toys for Tots drive. At Route 96, they believe in girl power. They want a place that people of all shapes and sizes can shop and feel empowered and beautiful. They want you to be the best you possible, and they are committed to bringing you different styles while also providing some basics to express the true you. You can find them on Facebook and at Route96Boutique.com.
Route 96 Boutique, check it out. All right, let's jump into tight ends. Tight ends was rough for me this week. Writing up the article is just couldn't really find anybody that I wanted to play or anybody who really jumped off the page at me. And I really went with more of an ownership thing, just as far as really went more with ownership than anything. I was just kind of looking at sheets and he's just Pat Fryermuth is owned. He's 5% more owned than any other tight end. He is getting work. So, I mean, that was kind of who I went through in my lineup, but let's get through what I wrote up here. So let's start with TJ Hawkinson. Quietly been the best tight end in the league through the first 3 weeks. It could be a different story had Kelsey played week 1, but he's seeing a ton of targets. The Vikings just have to continue to air it out. If you can afford him, I mean, the floor is there. So if you're playing in cash games or head-to-heads and you want to tie him with a floor, Hawkinson's your guy. Mark Andrews, with all those injury news, I could definitely see Mark Andrews doing a little bit more than what he's done the first couple weeks since he's been back from injury. Didn't play week 1, 8 targets, 5 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown week 2. And then last week, just 5 targets, 4 catches, 35 yards in that ugly game against Indianapolis. But he, with Odell Beckham and Rashad Bateman both being out, he could be. I don't like his price point. I don't like paying $5,400 for him. I think I could definitely get a little better somebody else. George Kittle had a good Thursday night game last week, but hasn't done much since. Like I said, I think they just blow out the Cardinals here. Taysom Hill would be interesting. You always have to keep an eye out for what he's going to do. I remember a couple of years, I don't know if it was last year, a couple of years ago, where he played. DraftKings didn't switch him. He was a tight end and ended up getting the quarterback reps. So it was just a lock button there. Dallas Goedert, same thing. I just don't like the game environment. He's been good, though. He's getting targets. He's involved in the offense. 7 targets week 2, 7 targets week 3, 5 catches for 5 and 6 catches respectively. I skipped over Hunter Henry. I think Mike Gesicki actually has more upside in that lineup or in that on the team. They're going up against Dallas defense. I mean, who knows? Dallas pulls their head out of their ass and doesn't choke against the Arizona Cardinals. I might take a break to go cry. Tyler Higbee, questionable. Tyler Higbee's just not the fantasy quarterback or fantasy tight end, guys. I mean, he's on the field all the time. He gets snaps or he gets targets. He runs routes. He just doesn't do anything. He'll have an occasional smash game, but man, I can't play him on a week-to-week basis. Cole Kmet, this could be one of those games. I don't trust him. David Njoku, same thing. They just don't get the ball into the guy's hands. I mean, God, when he's out there running, he looks like a 220-pound running back just running downhill. He catches the ball and he just takes off, but they just don't get him. He just doesn't see the targets. 3 targets, 4 targets, just it's rough for him. We talk about game environment. Gerald Everett on the field quite a bit. 6 targets last week, caught all 6 for 30 yards. I mean, same thing as Higbee. He's getting the volume, just doesn't do a whole lot with them. Jake Ferguson with the Cowboys. He gets some of the most, I'm trying to think of where I read this one, but I think he is targeted either second or third most for tight ends inside the red zone or inside the 5 or inside the 10. Dak Prescott looks his way all the time, so he's liable to fall in the end zone here. Next guy in my article, Pat Fryermuth, gets the red zone looks. Houston's defense not that great against the tight ends, so he could fall in the end zone here. I think that's why I went with him, is just because I think the floor is there. He's going to get the volume, and they look his way in the red zone. Hayden Hurst, there's a lot of people who are high on Hayden Hurst. He had a really good week 1 and then kind of fell off. Juwan Johnson. Who were they saying? Somebody's saying somebody's out for New Orleans. Foster Moreau is questionable. So, but Juwan Johnson hasn't done anything. I mean, the Saints have 4 tight ends on their roster, including Taysom Hill. So I stay away from that whole situation. Dalton Kincaid, man, I wrote him up last week. I'm writing him up again. I mean, he's got to do something, right? I actually wrote up Kincaid and Dalton Knox in the same thing. They're on the highest game total on the slate. The Bills could, if they're falling from behind, they're going to be throwing to keep pace. Kincaid's athletic, but they're both, I want to say both him and Dawson Knox are running right around the same routes. They're doing a lot of the same things. I don't think one of them's favored over the other. Yeah, Dawson Knox is actually on the field more, not by much. But yeah, they're just not seeing the targets, man. I mean, they're equals, and they're $100 difference, so it's really kind of a coin flip. And that's why I kind of stayed away. I got on Stefan Diggs for that one, Stefan Diggs, just because he gets 40% of the target share. Dalton Schultz, don't even get me started. I drafted him in season long. He's been terrible. Zach Ertz has been getting targets. I just think against San Francisco, it's just not going to be a good sight. Talked about Dawson Knox, Cade Otton, no. Logan Thomas would be kind of interesting. The guy it seems like every year he has a couple concussions and then they pull him out of there. And he's healthy. He's available to play, past concussion protocol. Got looks. Eagles not, at least their defense is listed as not that great against the tight end. So could be serviceable, but I think you can pay down a little. If you're going to pay that far down, I think you can get other people who are more involved. Irv Smith out, we mentioned that. Chigo Okonkwo, same thing. I had high hopes for this guy too, and he's just not been the guy. Durham Smythe, I was all over Durham Smythe last week, and they just don't throw to him. Even in a blowout, he didn't do anything. Kylan Granson is somebody I wrote up, or I didn't write up, but I wanted to write up. Scored his first touchdown. The guy had a photo shoot with his girlfriend or wife, and they had the ball that he scored his first touchdown with. Pretty funny stuff. But yeah, 4 targets. I mean, at 3,000, he doesn't really have to do a whole lot to get there. He had 7 fantasy points in week 1, 10 in week 2, and only 2.9 last week. He gets a little bit easier matchup here with the Rams. But if he does score 10 points, I mean, it's 3x his salary. So Adam Trotman, same thing, just no volume. I mean, God, he was better week 1 when before oh God, what's his name now? He's better week 1 when Greg Dulcich was there. He had 5 targets. He hasn't had any targets the last 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. If I read that right. Where'd you go, guy? There he is. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 target and 2 targets, and no catches either game. So no thanks. John Bates with Logan Thomas back. I don't like it. 2 guys here. I wrote up one. I didn't write up the other. Donald Parham Jr. I don't want any hate for this one, but the guy is 6'8", and they look his way when they're in the red zone every time. 3 targets in week 1, 3 catches, 21 yards, and a touchdown. 2 targets in week 2, only 1 catch for 7 yards. Week 3, 2 targets, 2 catches, 4 yards, and 2 touchdowns. At 2,800, if the guy gets you even 1 touchdown, I mean, that's 2x his salary right there. So you figure 6 points for the touchdown and then 1.5 points. So 7.5 points is damn near 3x at 2,900 or 2,800. So there's no floor, but the fact that the guy is probably going to catch a touchdown. Matter of fact, I wonder what his prop is to catch the touchdown. Real quick here. I know I can search it here. Donald Parham. And this is something I do as well, guys. I look at some of these spreads and some of these props to see if those guys are more likely to catch a touchdown or not. Donald Parham to score a touchdown He's +2, +245, +281 is the consensus. So he's plus, they don't think he's going to do it. The guy he's caught one 2 out of 3 weeks. He's got as many touchdowns as games as he's played. The other guy that I didn't write up, Mike Gesicki, he's out there a lot. The Patriots like to run 2 tight end sets. On paper, he's not out there all the time, but I don't trust Hunter Henry, and I think Mike Gesicki could definitely have a pretty okay game. I mean, it's against Dallas. That's why I didn't write him up. Is just he's going against Dallas defense, so I'm just not a fan. Another question: Who is Eric Williams? Who's Eric Williams? I don't know who Eric Williams is. Eric Williams. No idea. No idea who you're talking about, bud. We'll figure it out. Unless you meant Mike Williams. If you meant Mike Williams, I don't know if maybe his middle name's Eric, but if you meant Mike Williams, Josh Palmer or Quentin Johnston. And both of those guys are probably gone in any kind of league with anybody who pays any sort of attention to anything fantasy. Shout out though, Anthony. I know it's your birthday, so happy birthday, bud. Yeah, yeah, my bad, Mike. Yeah, Mike Williams. Yeah, if you didn't get Josh Palmer or Quentin Johnston already, or if your league just hasn't done waivers, definitely look him up. So let's hop into defense here. We'll run through this real quick, and then I can take any questions at the end, and I've got some bets for you. So starting off at the top, 49ers. I'm not paying $4,700 for defense. Eagles defense going against Washington. Washington just gave up 9 sacks, had 4 turnovers, and they gave up a defensive touchdown. You're going to pay up for a defense. $4,100 is pretty expensive, but the Eagles could. I mean, the Bills. I was all over the Bills last week. They scored 32 points, helped me cash in every lineup that I had. And I think it's definitely a possibility the Eagles do the same thing. Just sucks that they're way higher priced. Cowboys, yeah, I like the Cowboys against anybody. They didn't show up last week against Josh Jacobs and the Cardinals, but who knows? Steelers against Houston, that could be good. But if I'm going to pay up that high, I'm just going to go up to the Eagles most likely. Same thing with the Bengals, Broncos, Saints, Vikings, Titans. The next viable that I had was the Buccaneers. Like I said, Jameis Winston. I'm pretty confident, and I should take it as Buccaneers anytime touchdown. I'm kind of curious if you can get that prop, but if you could do a Buccaneer like a defense anytime touchdown, I'd take the Buccaneers if Jameis Winston is starting. If Jameis Winston isn't starting, then I take that back. Ravens against Cleveland. I'm not a fan of that. Chargers defense can't stop anybody. I don't mind the Rams, but I'm okay not going with them. Patriots against Dallas. I mean, we saw that Dallas can have bad games, but in Dallas, I don't think they do that again. Houston's viable, but if I'm gonna, I'd rather just pay down a little bit more, pay up a little bit more. Colts against the Rams. Again, same thing. Colts are viable. I mean, they held down Lamar and the Ravens, but yeah, I mean, they'd be okay. Like Brian said before, he had some technical difficulties. The Browns. That was somebody that I really wanted to get up to. And they're $300 more than the Panthers. Like I said, I think if I went down to Javonte Williams, took out Alexander Madison, went to Javonte Williams, I could go from Thielen to Brown and go from the Panthers defense to the Browns defense. So I kind of like that correlation, having a defense paired with most of the time it's a running back, but a defense with a wide receiver. It just, a lot of people don't think about that. And sometimes if, and they say running back to go with defense because if your defense is smashing, then that probably means that they have a huge lead and your running back should be kind of taking over the game there. The Bills against Miami, no thank you. The Bears defense is trash. Dolphins against Buffalo, no thanks. Carolina against Minnesota. That's kind of where I thought the cheapest viable was. Kirk Cousins is he slings the ball. He makes mistakes. He has turnovers. I think just if you were going down and you needed punt defense, really, I mean, the Panthers, I think they'll get some points. I don't think they'll put up a 0. Commanders against Philly, no thanks. Raiders, same thing against the Chargers. I don't like that. And then the Cardinals, I think, are just going to get bludgeoned by the 49ers. But we've seen crazier things happen. So, who knows? Maybe Brock Purdy throws an interception for a touchdown. That's what I like about defenses is you could usually punt the defense most of the time if you needed to really save the salary. And 9 times out of 10, I mean, except for a week like last week where Buffalo put up 32, defenses really don't kill you, but they do win you tournaments. And that's kind of it for all the position groups. Lowest scoring game this week. Got that question here. I could really honestly see it being one of 3 games. I could see it being Tampa Bay and the Saints. We don't have Drew Brees and Tom Brady throwing the ball here, so we're not going to see those crazy blowouts. Ravens Browns I could see being really low scoring, and then Bengals Titans. I think the Bengals Titans could be a really low scoring game. Right now the Ravens Browns is projected under 40 points. Same thing with the Bucks and the Saints. So if I had to take my picks on those, I think I'd take the under on those. But yeah, I think those would be pretty low scoring. Derek again, Chiefs against Wilson on the road. Yeah. Somebody asked a question, said they had a Kansas City defense. I think that's a good point. Unfortunately, they're not on the main slate. But I think if you're playing the showdown on DraftKings tomorrow or Sunday night, definitely think Chiefs defense is in play. Zach Wilson's not good. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. We're going to wrap it up here in a few minutes. Go over my bets here. So let's go all the way back to week 1. Week 1, I was 3-0. Week 2, I was 2-1. Week 3, I only had 2 picks that I really liked. I had Texans +9, Colts +8.5. Both of those smashed. I really wish I would have had the cojones to take a money line and parlay them together, but I don't. I get really weird about not using too much of my bankroll. I really like to play DFS all year, so I could get myself into trouble if I bet all the time. This week, I do like the Buccaneers +3.5. A little caveat to that, like I said, that's if Winston plays. I think if Carr does play, Carr's a little bit more careful with the ball. He's not good. I still think I'd take it, but getting that I could see it being a field goal game. So the Bucs losing by 3.5, you still cash out your bets. A lot of people on Indianapolis, and I think they're good. Who knows what happens? Anthony Richardson is back, but I do like the Rams to bounce back this week. So I took the Rams +1, and then the Panthers going up against the Vikings. Like I said, I think it'll be hard for the Panthers to score, but their defense is a little bit better than what the Vikings has faced here. But I took the Panthers +4.5. So yeah, on the year right now with my spread bets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-1. So hopefully we can keep it rolling. It's helped me build some of my bankroll when I haven't had week 1 and week 2 of DFS was not very good to me. But I tell you what, week 3, if you're not playing in cash games or head-to-heads, you need to be. I'm just checking out my recent contests here in NFL. Yeah, I cashed. I took first in our man versus machine versus fate that we do on the for frequency sake. I actually got a ticket into the Clay Matthews Sunday Bash, so I placed high enough, and that's a free contest. If you're not entering the free contest, I understand that they've got hundreds of thousands of people in there, but they're free. Just throw a lineup in there. That's all I did. I threw my cash lineup in there, and my cash lineup scored 191 points. So I got a free ticket to play in the Super Bowl this year. So that should be cool. If you don't play head-to-head contests, I strongly recommend it. Just make sure if you are playing those, I play $21 contests every week, and because there's bound to be somebody else out there that's worse than me. So if if I play it and, my cash games aren't working out, usually I can recoup some of my bankroll. Just make sure if you do it, you have to create it on the DraftKings website and limit who can play against you to just one time. A lot of people leave it to unlimited, then you get snuffed out by a shark, and then they take you down. But I did 20 of those contests this week, and I won 16 of them. Like I said, I cashed in every double up. One of my 3 lineups in my 3-entry max, I cashed one of those, and then my single entry small contest cost me $27 to get in. Only 345 participants. Like I said, anything under 500 is what I'm trying to get into. That one, the contest pays out $900 to first place. I took 39th and I won $60, so I tripled my investment or doubled my investment there. But yeah, for the week, I think I took out I won $131. So real good third week. I'm hoping we can kind of keep it rolling. I talked a lot about the big. I had Raheem Mostert in my article last week. I had Kirk Cousins. I mean, I had a lot of the big plays. The Bills defense. I talked about them on the main show. I had them in my article. I didn't have a different defense. I went all Bills defense. I went all my eggs in one basket. Got 32 points out of them, and it really, really pulled me away from a lot of the field. Got one more question here before we wrap it up. Kansas defense holding under 20 points, and Miami Dolphins rookie back scoring a rush touchdown in 50 yards. Oh, did you parlay all that together? I like that. It's a decent bet. Yeah. But I think that's going to do it, man. I'm thinking let's do it for the DFS deep dive this week. Join us every Friday night, 7:15. Brian and I hammer it out. We go through our best plays of the week. Just get on board. Like I said, it's been a good start. Like I said, week 1, week 2, it's always tough until you can start getting to the analytics of it and stuff. But week 3, we definitely started hitting our stride, and I hope we just kind of continue. So brought to you by Durham Remodeling and Ryan Allison Tattoo. We'll see you guys next week.